Hi, boys and girls. You know, we've read a lot of books this year, and some of them have been fairy tales or folk tales, like The Gingerbread Man, and also we read The Three Bears. And folk tales and fairy tales are stories that have been passed down through the generations, and often they get put into books, and in doing that, people sometimes write them differently because they've heard them differently. So this week we're going to explore one of my favorite fairy tales, Jack and the Beanstalk. And this is by Paul Galdone. We know that Paul Galdone has written a lot of fairy tales because we've read his versions of The Gingerbread Boy and The Three Bears. He does do a lot of the old fairy tales and folk tales. Now this is Jack and the Beanstalk, a folk tale classic, Paul Galdone. As old Mother Twaddle was sweeping her floor, she found a new sixpence under the door, and as she surveyed it with exquisite pleasure, she called her son Jack to look at her treasure. And sixpence is a piece of money. Now we have dollars and pennies and nickels and dimes, but that's for the United States. Not all countries have the same money. I will comb thee and wash thee and make thee quite spruce. Thou shalt go to the fair and buy us a goose. For of all the good things I vow and protest, a fat, tasty goose is the thing I love best. When old Mother Twaddle had sent Jack to the fair, she hastened with onions and sage to prepare a savory stuffing for the delicate treat, and thought with what glee of the tidbits she'd eat. So she's getting ready to cook the goose that Jack is supposed to bring home. When Jack reached the fair and round him was staring, a peddler cried out, "Buy this bean for a farthing. It possesses such virtues that sure as a gun, tomorrow it will grow near as high as the sun." Now he's saying, buy my bean for a farthing and you'll get a bean plant going all the way to the sun. A farthing is another piece of money. Jack bought it for sixpence, then went to his mother, who at sight of the bean made a terrible pother. She gave him a scalding and slapped both his hands for having presumed not to mind her commands. So he disobeyed his mother. He did not do what she told him to. She was angry. Jack went to the garden and took up his spade, his shovel, then put the rare bean in the hole he had made, expecting to find this great wonder of wonders as tall as a tree to make up for his blunders. So he's hoping that this bean will make it right, that his mom will not be mad at him for his mistake anymore. Next morning, Jack rose to view the large bean, when to his surprise, even the top was not seen. It made a long ladder as straight as a rope, and Jack soon climbed on high, full of joy and hope. He knocked at the door of a very grand place. A damsel came to it with a cap all of lace. "Oh, pray go from hence," cried this maid in a fright, "for a giant lives here, and he'll eat you this night." Jack begged to come in with so winning an air that she promised to hide him and pointed out where. He no sooner had hidden than the door opened wide, and in stalked the giant with a very long stride. A stride is like how far your steps are. When you take big steps, you have a long stride. Then the monster roared out, "Fee, fi, fo, fan. I smell the breath of an Englishman. If he be alive or if he be dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." "Oh, wait, my dear giant. First drink some strong wine. Then on that dainty you may afterwards dine." He seized a large cup and tippled so deep Then he tumbled down flat and fell fast asleep. Soon as Jack saw him fall, he crept from the bed, then snatched a large knife and he chopped off his head. Thus he killed this great man as he loudly did snore, and never again was a giant seen more. It's funny reading these. Sometimes they seem really, and I honestly have heard this story differently myself. But it's hard to find a book the way I heard it. Jack sent for his mother to come up and dine with a promise of goose and a bottle of wine. And as she did eat it with excessive delight, she approved of his bargain and said he'd done right. So is his mom happy now? She is. Jack sent for a parson, as he had a great mind to marry the damsel who was willing and kind. The parson came soon and made her Jack's wife, and they lived very happy to the end of their lives. Here Jack and his wife and his mother are seen, all dancing a jig round the wonderful bean. The end. Have you heard the story of Jack the Beanstalk? There are so many different versions of this story, and I want to share some of those with you. I have a couple of books, and it's funny because both of the books that I have, and they don't tell the story the way that I grew up hearing it. I have another version that seems to have gone missing. That was the version that I knew. How do you hear the ending? How have you heard the ending of Jack and the Beanstalk? In the versions that I've heard, he's stolen from the giant, and then he chops down the beanstalk. So this is a very different version that Paul Galdone has told. Why do you think it's different? So tomorrow we'll explore another version. I hope you have a good day. Bye.